It's that time of year again. Time to do your tax return. Have you done it yet? Didn't think so. It's a little while since I've done a tax return video. The last one I did was a couple of years ago, so I thought I'd do a new one, all updated for the 16-17 tax year, which is the one that's due now for January the 31st, 2018. So if you're watching this in later years, bearing in mind thresholds and all that sort of thing, will almost certainly have changed, so make sure you're up to date with all the latest information for the tax return that you're doing. But I'm doing the one that's due at the end of January 2018. So if you're one of the almost 5 million self-employed people in the UK, you're probably panicking about getting your tax return done right now because everyone leaves it to the last minute. But don't panic, you can get it done in under 5 minutes if you've got all your records up to date. I'm assuming you've got your records up to date. As per usual, I'm not an accountant. I've just been self-employed for a long time, so I've completed a lot of tax returns. I would highly recommend speaking to an accountant, at least for your first tax return. My aim on this channel is to kind of give you enough information that a small business owner should know anyway. But if you want to go ahead and submit tax information to HMRC without any professional help from an accountant, that's entirely at your own risk. So I'm going to show you how I complete my tax return for the 2016-17 tax year. And to keep things really simple, I've made a few assumptions. First of all, I'm assuming there's only one self-employed business and nothing else. I'm assuming you've got no other form of income other than your self-employment. Secondly, I'm assuming your accounting year runs in line with HMRC's accounting year, which is the 6th of April 2016 to the 5th of April 2017. Thirdly, I'm assuming we're using the cash basis accounting method. I've already done a video about the cash basis. There's a link in the description. If you're not sure what it is, you need to read up on it. It's a really important thing that you need to understand the difference between cash accounting and accruals-based or traditional accounting. If you've got a very small business, cash accounting makes things a lot simpler, but there are a few things that you need to understand, and I've done a separate video all about that. The threshold for cash accounting in the 16-17 tax year is that you must have a turnover under £83,000 per year. That's going up to £150,000 a year in the 17-18 tax year. Fourthly, I'm assuming your self-employment has a fictitious turnover of £30,000 a year. It's a nice, neat number to work out some figures with. I'm also assuming that you've had operational expenses of about £5,000 a year, so your outgoings, and I'm assuming you've had capital expenses, so equipment and that sort of thing, of about £5,000 a year. Under the cash basis, we're going to lump those both together, so it makes your total expenses £10,000 a year, which means that your taxable profit is £20,000 per year. I'm assuming there's nothing weird about your tax situation, like you're not carrying forward losses from previous tax years and you're not a Lloyd's underwriter or anything weird like that. Sorry, Lloyd's underwriters, I'm sure you're perfectly normal people. I'm also assuming that you've been sent a letter from HMRC asking you to complete a tax return. If you haven't and you think you should be doing a tax return, you need to be getting in touch with them pretty quickly. And finally, I'm assuming that you've already got a government gateway user ID and password. Again, if you've not got that yet, you need it to log into the HMRC systems. You've left it far too late. You need to get in touch with HMRC straight away because you're cutting it really fine to get all that information in time to get your tax return done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through the form really quickly first without talking, just so you can see how quickly it can be filled in. That's going to take us about 4 minutes. So if you don't want to see that, skip forwards 4 minutes in the video, and then I'm going to talk about filling the form in. But I just wanted to show you, if you just want to see the form being filled in and you don't want me yabbering on, then you can just watch that. But if you want me to blether on about it for a little bit, skip forwards 4 minutes and we can have a bit of a chat about it. Bear in mind, this is just a really simple, high-level overview of filling in a UK tax return. There's really good help online on the HMRC systems. You'll see when you fill in the return, you get the little question mark next to each box. Click on those and read everything. You really need to understand everything that goes into a tax return. Ultimately, the buck stops at you as a small business owner. So whether you've got an accountant or not, I would strongly advise that you understand the sort of information that's going into your tax return. HMRC have also put out quite a lot of their own videos now as well, which is quite novel. They're still giving you information regarding 28.8K modems in the tax return, but okay, we can't ask for everything. So I'll pop a link in the description to some of HMRC's videos as well, and you can take a look at them if the fancy so takes you. So the first thing you need to do is log on to online.hmrc.gov.uk using your government gateway user ID and password. Click the complete return button, and that should take you to the main filling in your tax return screen. If you can't get to that screen for any reason, you need to contact HMRC and get some help off them. So we're at the start of the tax return here again, and all we do, we're assuming that you meet all the criteria of actually having to fill in a tax return, and you're not like a minister of religion or a Lloyd's underwriter or whatever. Click start, fill in all your personal details, so your name, your national insurance number, your phone number, your email address, and all that sort of thing. At the bottom of the form you need to fill in like marital status and all that, all fairly straightforward stuff. And then we're on to the tailoring your return bit. So as I say, we're assuming you are just self-employed and nothing else. So I commit to providing honest and accurate information, of course. Were you an employee? We're saying no, you didn't work for a company. Were you self-employed? Yes. How many self-employed businesses? We're saying you just had one. We're going to do it. I'm doing this as Andy Mac Drums again. Were you in a partnership? No. Did you receive property income? We're saying no. Did you have foreign income? We're saying no. Did you dispose of chargeable assets? No. Did you receive any interest from banks and building societies? So if you did, you would put a yes there. We're saying no to keep this simple. Did you get dividends from like shares and things like that? We're saying no. Each one of these would add a new section to your tax return. Just to keep it simple for this, I'm keeping it as no on all of these. Did you make contributions to a personal pension? As per usual. I wish. Did you give to charity? Again, we're just going to keep this all simple for the minute. We've got this new thing here. Do you want to transfer 10% of your personal allowance to your spouse or civil partner? So if your profits are well below the personal allowance threshold, then you can transfer 10% of your personal allowance over to your spouse and save them some tax. We're going to say no for that for the minute, but this is a good idea to do if you can make use of it. Do you want to claim any other tax reliefs? We're saying no. No. Have you had a tax advisor? This is where if you had an accountant, you would put that you did. Right, and now we're ready to complete the self-employment section. So we've done all the kind of tailoring the return, we've filled in personal information. We now need to tell HMRC a little bit of information about your self-employment. So you click on self-employment details. Did you have an annual turnover of 83,000 or more? We're saying no. Obviously read them, click on the help for them and all that sort of thing. Normally none of those apply. Business name, Andy Mac Drums. Description of the business, doesn't have to be War and Peace. I'm just going to put drum teacher. And YouTube sensation. Postcode of your business, I'm just going to make something up. Obviously put your business postcode in. Have you changed name, address? No. Have we ceased trading? No. Date your books are made up to? Well, it's going to be the 5th of April 2017 for this tax return. Obviously, if your books are made up to a different date, you would put that in there. Did you use the cash basis? We're assuming, to keep life simple, that yes, we're going to use the cash basis. I've done a separate video all about that, where you can find out the pros and cons of the cash basis. Turnover. This is your turnover figure that we talked about earlier. First bit of information we're going to type in, 30,000. Any other business income? No. Total allowable expenses. Okay, so because our expenses are below the threshold where you have to provide a detailed breakdown, there's more information all about that in here if you go through the help and whatnot. But because this is such a simple business that we're putting through here, we're going to just lump all the expenses and capital together in one figure. So we're saying it's a 5,000 expenses and 5,000 capital, and we're just going to bundle that into 10,000. Next. Now this is where you would have normally put the 5,000 capital figure, but as I say, I've bundled it into that expense figure. It's still really vague on your tax return whether or not they want you to put it in this box. I don't think they do. From the guidance notes, I think they're wanting to have everything bundled into that expense figure here if we're on the cash basis. So we can leave all of that blank. Goods or services you already own. Net profit's 20,000, that's kind of your key thing. Whether or not you're making use of the annual investment allowance, you can speak to HMRC about that. The key thing is it coming out with the correct net profit figure, which it is, 20,000. We're not talking about bringing forward losses. Loss from this tax year offset, well, there isn't one. Blah, 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 we don't need any of that. Deductions on payment and deduction, we're not doing that. Class 4 NICs, are you exempt? No, probably not. Any other information? No. There we go. That's basically it. Next. So this has come up with, if your profits are 5,965 or more, you must pay Class 2 NICs. Well, they are, and that should be calculated automatically later on. But it is saying, if your profits are less, do you want to pay Class 2 NICs voluntarily to keep your pension years going? I'm going to assume not. Underpaid tax for the previous years. Basically, unless there's a problem, put yes. Again here, unless there's a problem, put yes. Outstanding debt, we're assuming there's none. Enter 0 if there is nothing. It's the one box where you have to type a 0 in instead of just leaving it blank for some reason. If HMRC owe you money, who's going to get it? I'm going to get it. And then you would put in, obviously, your full bank details. Basically, ignore that. Increase in tax due because of adjustments to an earlier year. We're assuming none of that's applicable. Does this return contain provisional or estimated figures? We're saying no. Any other information? Nope. Are we given an attachment? Nope. Next. And that is almost it. We'll do next. You can see what it's done here. We've got a total amount due for 16/17 of £3,020.20, plus a first payment on account for 17/18 of £1,437.30. That's normal. It just means that you're paying half of next year's tax in advance, and then at the end of next tax year you pay the other half. You can look at your full calculation just by clicking that, and it gives you the full breakdown. So here we've got 20,000 from self-employment profit, 11,000 personal allowance, £9,000 on which tax is due. We're then getting the breakdown here. Basic rate of tax 20%, so £1,800 tax, and then it's worked out the national insurance class 4, 11,940 times 9% because of the different threshold. Please, HMRC, get your thresholds to match up, and then that would make life a bit easier, wouldn't it? But £1,074.60 in national insurance class 4, and we've got the automatic class 2 NI there as well. So that's automatically been calculated. So the total NI, £1,220.20. So that gives an overall total of £3,020.20. So the total due is effectively £4,457.50 because it's taking into account tax that might be due for next year. It swings and roundabouts that. You would get it back if it wasn't due. Are you claiming to reduce your 17/18 payments on account? Okay, so let's say you think that next year you're not going to be paying any tax for whatever reason. Then you could say in here, okay, I don't want to pay any payments on account for next year because, for example, you might know that your business has stopped trading and you're not going to be due to be paying any tax for that tax year. Bear in mind, we're already halfway through the 17/18 tax year, so you've probably got a fairly good idea of that. All you have to do there is put in the figure that you don't want to pay and put a reason for it. But we're not going to do that. Next. And that's us done and dusted. As per usual, you can save a copy of your return. Just click the save button. Go through. You know what it is? This looks a little bit different, and I thought they might have taken out the 1995 section about 28.8k modems, but alas, it's still here. This is so out of date. No one on the planet has a 28.8k dial-up modem. Anyway, rant over. Next. So that then just lets you download it as a PDF, so you've got an offline copy of your tax return. I would always advise that you do keep a PDF copy of your return just so you can refer back to it, just in case HMRC decide to ask you any questions about it. You want to have something just to have proof of what you actually put on your return. I would also suggest you go back and you print off your tax calculation, so this page, because your tax return doesn't show your tax calculation in this much detail. It just shows kind of your final figures. So I would suggest you print off a copy of this page, either as a PDF or a physical printout, just so you've got a record of the actual calculation in case you need to refer back to it. But you go next, oops, and you would go next. I don't want to actually submit my return because I've obviously filled it all out with bogus figures. You would tick the box, the information I've given is correct, and you would go next. I'm not going to do that because it will submit the wrong information for me, but that's it, done. Oh, one other thing as well, if you do make a total balls up of your tax return and you want to start again, if you go to the welcome screen and scroll down to delete your entire tax return, click that, click confirm, and all that does is just reset everything and take you back to square one. So you can then click file a return and you're back to where you started. So if you do make a right hash of it, as long as you haven't actually submitted it, you can take it back to the start like that. So if you do want to just kind of reset everything, something's gone horribly wrong, just go back to the welcome screen, click that delete return, and it just takes you back to this, and it's just from here you can just start the whole process all over again. So there you go. I hope you found that useful for another year. You can get your tax return done and dusted, and you can forget about it and actually get on with doing your whole business thing. If you've got any questions or comments, or you just want to say thanks for doing the video, pop onto my Patreon and you can do all that sort of thing over there. I'll be putting out a whole load more small business videos throughout the year, so don't forget to hit subscribe. I wish you every success throughout 2018 on your small business journey. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.